You're listening to Speaking Sidemount, the podcast where we talk all things sidemount and cave diving, from equipment, skills, techniques, and cave diving expeditions to interviews with some of the world's top sidemount and cave divers. Whether you're new to sidemount, been sidemount diving for years, or just want to know more, this is the place for all things sidemount. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Let's get wet. Hey, welcome back to Speaking Sidemount. I'm Steve Davis. This episode is brought to you by our brilliant sponsor XDeep and by the patrons of Speaking Sidemount. Huge thanks to both for their support that makes everything you're about to listen to possible. Welcome to our very first video podcast episode. I'm really excited by the fact that I'm now moving to a different media format for this podcast. We're going to focus a lot more on video along with the normal audio format that we've been doing for many years now. Video episodes are going to be available both through Spotify and also through YouTube. It's an exciting new era for Speaking Sidemount, so I hope you enjoy it. Please give me your feedback. I'm interested in everything in terms of the quality, whether you enjoy seeing video more than just listening to audio. I'd like to know where you're consuming the podcast, whether you're at home watching video or whether you're watching it on a mobile device at home or out of office, or whether you're actually on the road and just listening to audio. Now, in this month's episode, I have Jacek Konikowski, who's an instructor, trainer, evaluator, and also an IT for Cave CCR, CCR Trimix levels, and also for the KISS Sidewinder. Now, Jacek has chosen to specialize his teaching in the two areas of diving that he loves, that is cave diving and the KISS Sidewinder. And as he describes, this match gives him the best of both worlds. Jacek shares on his background and how he came to base himself in Isla Plana to be close to an amazing cave del Agua. We get into a massive discussion on the KISS Sidewinder and in particular in this episode about the KISS Sidewinder 2 and about the contribution that Jacek has made to the pre-production testing of this exciting new rebreather. So we go deep into the Sidewinder 2, talking about some of the new features and how it's all going to work. Would you believe it? Some heresy as well. Jacek and I get into the back mount version of the Sidewinder 2, and I think it's pretty exciting that we're looking at what I consider to be the world's best side mount rebreather, but it's also going to have a back mount mode. And Jacek and I discuss when the back mount mode might be most useful and what is required to set it up and train for that mode. Now, in addition, Jacek and I chat about Cave del Agua and the special features that this cave has. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you to XDeep, our sponsor, for sponsoring the show. And thank you to the patrons of Speaking Sidemount who every month contribute to help the production of this podcast. It really does make a difference. So let's get on with it. Episode 97 with Jacek Konikowski. Welcome to Speaking Sidemount.
Hello, Steve.
Great to meet you. I've been watching you from afar for some time now, obviously as a fellow Sidewinder diver and in fact as a Sidewinder instructor and instructor trainer. So I'm super keen to talk a lot about that today. But the first thing to get us started, could you just tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, so I'm a diving professional. I haven't do anything in my life, anything else, just
Wow.
Dive and teach diving.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to run the dive center in Poland because originally I'm from Poland. I moved to Spain about 3 years ago. Warmer waters, caves around, so that was the reason.
Yes.
I sold my dive center, so now I'm focused on my favorite things, caves and Sidewinder. So I just quit all different kinds of the classes and just focus about cave classes, all levels, and the Sidewinders levels, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the things are connected because I also teach a lot of CCR caves with the Sidewinder mainly.
Yes.
So
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go way back. And how did you get started in diving? I mean, obviously in Poland, I guess it's not that common for people to get into diving, or is it?
Nowadays, yes. Yeah, but that 20-something, 30 years ago, not really. There's not a huge story about it. Just, I like water. As from the time as I remember as a small child, I just get inside the water with the mask and the fins and some kind of free diving, and then it was just
Yeah.
natural. And it was some diving club focus on the archaeology, underwater archaeology. So it was nice things, not only about the diving, but also some project. We helped the museums and stuff. So yeah, that was the thing. But not any huge event. It was with me from the beginning, I think.
Right, right. And so where did you do your first courses? In Poland?
Yeah, yeah, sure. As I said, it was some kind of declare. Mhm.
Hmm.
It was early 90s. So
Right.
still communist time, more or less, beginning of the changes in Poland. So we didn't have
Yes.
access, no private companies, and so just the public clubs. And yeah, and as I mentioned, there was a member of the archaeological club. Yeah. We
Hmm.
cooperate with the university, so let's say it was quite nice because we had the access to the equipment, because of the support, because it
Sure.
was not only the club, but also the club with the goals to help the
Yeah.
university to find artifacts and so and maybe also that's why I spent a lot of time digging in the bottom zero V's just to find a piece of ceramic. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Good
really really old
preparation
one.
for
Yeah,
cave training.
yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, so that's why I feel
Yeah.
so comfortable in the darkness. Let's say. Yeah. So the caves and so
Awesome.
on. So that was the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about side mount diving? Where did that come along?
Uh, I quite fast after the few years, maybe five, maybe six, from the beginning, from my first class, I jumped to the cave diving. Mm. And
Right.
then the Sidemount, it was a tool for the caves only.
Yes.
You can't see any divers to get into the lake with the Sidemount, but it was a natural tool for cave divers. Mm.
Right.
So that was the beginning. Yeah? So it was the necessity of the caves and restrictions and the sums and so on. So it was natural, and I fell in love with the Sidemount. But of
Hmm.
course, uh, I used to dive the single tank because the recreational classes. Uh, Mostly I use twin set for my open water dives. It wasn't so, let's say, how can I say it? It was a tool for the kids. So I even
Hmm.
didn't consider that I should use it in open water. Of course, I did it just for training, to do some setup makeups and so on.
Yep.
But then it becomes a natural thing because a lot of it was gets more popular and popular and popular, and yeah. And I also just quit the idea of anything on my back. So when I back my configuration and just started to dive Sidemount everywhere, each environment. So that
Yeah.
was, but originally it started because caves.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that feeling because when I did my side mount training, I'd been diving for quite a long time. In fact, I started in the late 70s, early 80s, so a long, long time ago. But I dived single cylinder for such a long time. And then when I finally found side mount, I've told the story many times, but when I finally found it, it was pretty much the only configuration I wanted to dive from that point forward. And even though, is it the perfect configuration for every environment? Of course not. But is it a good configuration for many environments? Yes, it is. And it's not so hard to dive from boats that it's a big problem, especially with just two cylinders. Maybe when you're diving three or four or five or something, then that's a problem. But we're going to start talking about rebreathers, which to some degree eliminates all of that. So yeah, I understand that feeling, yeah, really, really well. Now, you mentioned earlier that you'd moved to Spain, and I know you're based in Isla Plana and or close to Cava del Agua, and that's where I did my full cave training in 2015 with Tom Steiner. So I know that part of the world a little bit. having spent a couple of weeks there. It's a really beautiful, beautiful coastline. A cave so close to the coast, and yet so unique in all the aspects of Cave del Agua that I'll let you talk about. But I found it a really interesting cave to dive and also to train in. Can you share a bit about the area that you live in particular, Cave del Agua?
Mhm. Yeah, so that was my main reason because uh, I'm a cave diver from the beginning of my way, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
inside my heart. So, but the problem is that we don't have any submerged cave in Poland. Mm. Just
Mm-hmm.
maybe last 5 years, there's two mines opened by my friends, but no one even artificial overhead so spots. So I spent so many hours, days, months altogether to traveling to be able to get to the cave, Mexico, Florida,
This
uh,
is my life.
1,000 hours in the car to France and so on and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, I wanted to live quite close by the caves around. That was my dream, like half an hour. You know, I was
Yep.
really jealous about, for example, at in Mariana
Mm-hmm.
or the guys from Mexico, just caves everywhere around. So
Yes.
that was the reason. And the Cave de Agua itself is a really beautiful cave. It's a hypogenic
Mm-hmm.
cave, completely different one than the others. Haven't been dry like Mexico. Haven't been, let's say, um, created by the underwater rivers like France or Florida. Just thermal, proper chemistry of the water from inside of the earth. So the water is
Mm-hmm.
thermal, 29 degrees. So completely different formation. Yeah, there's not a speleotherms, terms, but still so amazing colors and formation and so on. So, perfect cave and the perfect area. The south of Europe, so the people are more calm, not
Yes.
so stressed, and you
Yeah.
get it from them. Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that was the reasons. And also, I'm not a big fan of the open water guys, but also quite a lot of wrecks,
Mm-hmm.
quite easy access, and the sea caves, a few of them, the let's say main one, the City 12. Honestly, the Spain has a lot of caves. So 2, 3 hours drive north, east, west. You have access from a lot of them. So that's a really good, let's say, place for cave diving. So that's why. That's the reason why I'm here.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, that's as good a reason as any. And I understand that feeling completely. I'm in a similar situation, even though I live in New Zealand and we do have cave here. Most of the North Island caves where I live are basically not really diveable, or if they are diveable, the visibility is zero for most of it.
Mm,
And so you're really dry caving and then sump diving. And then the caves of the South Island are quite a long way away from me, even though I'm in the same country. So to get down to them is a little bit tricky. Obviously, flights involved, and then the water is very cold down there as well, which is an issue for me. I'm not great in cold water. Then there's access. You can't just drive up in your truck like you can in Mexico or Mariana or even Cave del Agua for that matter, and unload your truck and walk to the cave entrance and go and dive. It's a fairly intense journey that you have to go through to get to each of the cave entrances. So we tend to go to Australia from here. It's just as easy for us to go to Mount Gambier, and so I tend to go there 2 or 3 times a year. But I'm in that same boat that you are, where you need to travel, and so cave diving makes up a part of my diving, but not as much as I'd like it to, for exactly that same reason. So, congratulations on the move. Now, let's move
thank
on a
you very
bit. Now,
much.
you're an instructor. Great. You're an instructor, trainer, evaluator, plus an instructor trainer for Cave CCR. I hope I get all of these. CCR Trimix, and of course the KISS Sidewinder. And you've very much chosen to specialize in Cave and the Sidewinder. Can you share a little bit about how you came to this decision, in particular with the Sidewinder, to specialize in this unit?
Uh, the basics, honestly, I already talked about it because that's the composition of my feeling. I'm a Sidemount lover. I'm a cave lover,
Hmm.
so there wasn't a different choice than the Sidewinder for that. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Yes.
Mm, so yeah, and honestly, I also I would really like to progressively get familiar with the places, and it was 2016, 2015, something like this. I traveled to Florida a lot, 4 times per year or something, just because
Hmm.
I finished with European sports and then I had to move for the different area. And of course, I met the so and so on, and we became friends. It's my mentor for, let's say, not only for the case, for the Wimbledon, and a
Hmm.
huge person for me. And but generally,
Yes.
he invited me to the Taiwan. He showed me the Taiwan. And as I said, based on my the trade career and the Sidemount career, then I decided, okay, I tell you what, I even didn't do the try dive. Mhm. I knew that the things, I just,
Same as me.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
just got the thing in my hands.
Yeah.
We had a short chat with Ed about the advantages and my feedback about the things. Yeah, on the first look and just directly I booked a date with Ed for my crossover.
Yeah.
That was
So
the
you
day
had
I
already
won.
trained on another rebreather before this?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started with semi-closed dragger stuff like Delphine and Ray
Right.
in 90s.
Right.
Yeah. But then I moved to the simpler unit. I'm talking about the PSAR. It was a
Hmm.
clone of RD-80, the famous thing from Florida, made in Czech Republic, Tres Presidentes, but same principle. And also maybe the Sidewinder because that simplicity. And
Yes.
honestly, I've been diving PSQ from 7, almost 8 years in the kit.
Right.
Till became too heavy. Mm. Finally,
Yep.
I finished with the double 20 on my frame, on my back, so about 70 kilograms. You need 70, 80, and then I decided I had to change something.
Yes.
I've tried to convert it to the side mount, just clip them on the one side, uh, but the counterline there is a barrel style at the bottom of the unit. So even when you
Mm.
lose the trim a few degrees, you can't breathe, and so on and so on. And then Sidewinder appeared. Yeah? One of my
Yes.
trip from Florida, as I said, that showed me the unit. Yeah? And I knew that I want to dive now on it. And that's the
Yep.
beginning of the story. Yeah?
Yeah. Describe your feeling the first time you put it on and went underwater.
Mhm. First of all, I was really surprised that it's so easy
Yeah.
with buoyancy. Of course, like all the things we had, everything happened in Jackson Blue Lake.
Yeah.
So a few meters, like I don't know, 2 meters or something, just jump in and you know, just hovered and nothing happened. Yeah, no struggling, stable, not up, not and down, and that was the thing, so easy. Yeah? But of course, with the time, with the hours, you can find that okay, some of the things can be challenging. Yeah? But the first
Hmm.
feeling is that it's the easiest unit ever. Mhm.
Yeah. It was amazing for me. I mean, I trained with Ed as well a couple of years after you in 3 years, 2019. And I had never dived another rebreather, and I'd done a lot of research, particularly on speaking side mount. So I'd been asking my guests,
Mhm.
many of whom were diving side mount rebreathers, things like the SF2 and certainly the Dive Soft Liberty. We were looking at the Kiss Side Kick as well. Spoke to Brian Kaycook about that. Spoke to Richard Harris about the many rebreathers that he had tried. and dived over the years. And then I spoke to Michael Thomas, and I think he was the first one to put me onto the Sidewinder, saying, "Hey, Steve, you've got to try this. It's made for caves." He had been using it in caves. It suited him because he had to do a fair amount of dry caving and carrying equipment into a cave before he came to a sump. So it was perfect for him. I learned of Ed Sorensen through Patrick and Philip Lehman when he had supported the body recovery in the Dominican Republic. So I did that episode with Ed, and then we started to talk about the Sidewinder as part of that as well. So then that was the connection to Ed. And as soon as I cross-referenced what Michael had said with what Ed had said, and then it was, I've got to go and do this. It was just that simple. And for me, it was the fact that I'm a side mount open circuit diver. I'd been doing it for quite a long time at that stage, and when I put it on, the fact that it just fitted with my side mount system, all I really had to do was put the Sidewinder on, get in the water, and then don my side mount cylinders as I normally do. And then, take those first couple of breaths and go drop into trim. And I've got video. Ed took video of the very first moments underwater that I took. And it's quite incredible. I'm immediately in trim, immediately frog kicking into the little entrance of Jackson Blue, and we're pretty much ready to go cave diving. It's crazy. And there's video of my first days. And honestly, obviously you've got to learn how to dive a rebreather, so you've got to learn the third airspace and how to manage a minimum loop, and as you ascend and descend, and managing your PPO2 and all the things you have to learn. And obviously I screwed that up from time to time, but it was remarkably easy for me to become capable on that unit. And, within the 20, 30 hours that we did on the course, can't remember what it was now, I felt really, really pretty strong. Unfortunately, I ran straight into the pandemic after that and couldn't dive for a while. So it sat on a shelf with me staring at it while that happened. And it was a little bit challenging getting back in the water without the support of somebody. Kind of had to do that myself. But now I've got several hundred hours up on it. It's super comfortable. Mod 2 diver, diving in caves as much as I can. And I just love it. And, is it perfect for everything? Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about that, especially with the Sidewinder 2 coming out. But boy, is it a great unit, simple, easy to dive, fits on a side mount system, super streamlined, easy for caves, easy for wrecks in particular. God, I did a wreck dive last weekend that was just stunningly difficult in terms of zero visibility in a boiler room that was, bits of entanglement everywhere and full of packles, crayfish. I did a video if anyone wants to look at it, it's on my channel, but it was a really challenging dive, and the Sidewinder just absolutely kicked the butt of what we were doing there in terms of getting through some really difficult little spaces. So I love it, and clearly, obviously, it's a thing with you too. But as much as we love it, I think to a greater or lesser degree, many of us bump into issues with that unit. Personally, mine has run like a dream. I've never had an issue with the Sidewinder that hasn't been my fault, i.e. flooding it or setup issues and that sort of thing. But I know there's, people talk about issues like the threaded connections and into the Delrin and the way the ADV operates and so on. And a lot of that's going to disappear with the Sidewinder too. But one issue that sort of hasn't, is also addressed by the Sidewinder 2 is the CE certification. And it's nice for us and the rest of the world to have it, but I know how important it is in Europe. How have you dealt with that up to this point in terms of CE and working in Europe with the Sidewinder?
At the beginning, let me explain that I mentioned before about it. I'm not in the first line. Yeah? The father of the project is the pilot.
Yeah.
So he knows the things better. So let's say he took all the pain connected with the sea on on himself. But
Yes.
honestly, and also the Patrick as the second thing, second guy
Yes.
is really involved in the stuff. But of course, I'm really up to date, and I know what is going on, and I could see all that pain and amount of the hours which the guys put on it. But finally, I have to say that the unit is ready. Unit itself is ready for the sea, for the test in the labs, because the guys, how can I say, just choose the proper way. Just did quite a lot of preparation tests.
Yeah.
But now The engineers from XDIP with Patrick just working on the paperwork. Just prepare
Yeah,
all the required documents for CE. So, which is almost so same challenging like build the unit which is ready for CE. So that's the final steps, honestly. So the unit itself is ready, but now we are waiting for the paperwork, and
sure,
then
sure.
those things together just can go to the lab. And so yeah, but let's say we shouldn't afraid about the result. Yeah? The guys are really well prepared. So.
Amazing. And I know you've been really involved in the development. I think you've had a unit for several months, if not a year or so, various iterations of the unit that has led to the production unit. Can you share a little bit about your experience in being part of that? I think you've been part of the development team, right? That's been testing it in the water. What have your experiences been like?
Yeah. So, first of all, about the filling, especially when you jump between the units, that's the work of breathing. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
of course, the Sidewinder 2 allows you to breathe much easier. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, Due to the wideness of the absorbent bed and due to design. That was my first feeling. And also the scrubber duration. We have 1 kilogram of the smoke more, and much more than the one efficient scrubber. So also for long dives, lovers, that's the perfect tool. And I'm really happy with it. Mm, and that's the main change, which changed the game a lot compared to the Wonder One. And yeah, uh, honestly, during my dives, I didn't have any huge failures or the problem with the unit. Mm, uh, there are a lot of changes and the small things like OPV, spring, too soft, let's say. So when
Hmm.
you go head up, then open itself, but it has the springs. And so quite a lot of small details like this. But yeah, I'm really happy, and we are still not so, let's say, I'm not so familiar with the single setup. Mm. Still, most of the time, me, I just have the opportunity maybe 2, 3 hours backup setup dives. Patrick did about 30 hours, and he's happy. But
Hmm.
with the assignment, I think that there's not a thing which I can say that I don't like it. So more like this.
Yeah.
But of course, we found it during the way some small bugs to let's say repaired, to even change the design a little bit, which you couldn't find in the lab. So that's why we're testing it.
Yeah.
But it was the small details, not the concept at all. Mm. Yeah, but I'm really curious the single tank setup. As I said, I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm
really
very
familiar with it.
curious about that. And I mean, it's one of my questions, and it's a little bit of side mount heresy for me in particular to talk about a back mount setup, but you've made it look so slick. And the images that I've seen of you in particular, I've seen some of Patrick, but there's a lot of images of you diving that single cylinder setup, which are just magnificent. And I'll tell you why I'm interested in it. It's as slick as the side mount setup is with the side mount harness and everything, and it's fantastic for cave diving, for shore diving, diving off. I dive off rigid hull inflatable or ribs a lot, and it's really no problem for those. You have to become a bit of a contortionist to get it on, laying it on the rib pontoon and leaning backwards to get it on. It's not as easy as the table at Jackson Blue, for instance, but it's still not that much of a problem. But when you come to charter boats, which I dive every now and again, all of them are set up for a back mount CCR or a twin set. And so you've got that's where everything goes, and you need to be able to sit in there. So that's the one thing that's in my mind is when I'm diving off a charter boat, maybe it would be good for that. And then
Mm.
the other thing is doing 60-meter plus dives where you're diving trimix, and the ability to have your diluent trimix in that back cylinder, and a couple of deco bailouts either side, of course perfectly side mounted as you've demonstrated in your images, I think would be really nice. Like a 50 on the left and 100 on the right. So I'm kind of curious about how that might work for me as well, even though there is the heresy of putting it on my back. So how have you found diving it, and you talk me through the setup of it, and how you found it.
Yeah, and the reason why I agree with you, I think that the boat dives. Sometimes it's the Sidemount is really challenging, and to get into the water, the current, the waves, and then you have to walk already clipped on. I mean the tanks, and it's quite annoying. Yeah? So then probably more comfortable. Just sit on the bank, just put them on and jump. I'm not sure that I want to walk with this thing on my back in the cave. Probably not really.
No.
But no. So the boat bike maybe yes. And also I think that I had during the years on my Sidewinder training a few students just switch to Sidemount because the Sidewinder. And
right.
if you don't really believe in the setup, you don't have a lot of experience with the setup, then I noticed that the guys just were struggling with the Sidemount, not with the Sidewinder.
Yeah.
And finally, for the guys who don't really want to switch to the Sidemount, that also can be the opportunity. Just stay with the backmount, yeah? For example, the commuter diver. So I can see that it's a part of the market which can be really interesting. Yeah, that's the first
Sure.
thing. Yeah? About my feeling, honestly, it's quite heavy. I'm really used to just walk, especially cold water. I mean, warm water here around without the weight, just like nothing on my back.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I wonder.
yeah.
I've got a lot of different cylinders sitting there behind me, and I side mount all of them. So I've got 40 cubic foot or 5.86 or whatever they are aluminium. So I've got 7-liter steels, 50 cubic foot steels, and then I've got 11-liter aluminium, 12-liter steel. I wonder whether because a lot of those dives you don't need a huge amount of diluent, especially if you were to put, for instance, my 50 cubic foot 7-liter steel cylinder on the back, and then a couple of 40s. That gives you a lot of bailout, right? There's a lot of dives you could do with that. And especially when you think of trimix dives too, where, typically, that's a lot of trimix to carry when, probably if you have an issue, you're going to want to go up. I mean, I'm not talking cave diving here, of course, now. I'm talking sort of open water or, maybe wreck dives or open water dives. Then again, a smaller cylinder there with a couple of whatever bailouts you feel you need or you plan to need on the sides, side mounted again. But they'll be easier to put on. See, once you've got, you can walk it to the water. You can jump, you can clip on, or clip both of them on at the entrance and jump in, or put them on in the water, depending on the condition. So I think that's at least as easy as any back mount rebreather or trim set's going to be. So that's kind of where I see myself using. I'm quite curious. And so in order to dive the back mount setup, you just need a back plate and wing, and then with a cylinder in it, and then the two canisters clip onto the side of that. Is that the setup? And then the loop comes over.
Yeah. So but we are talking about the wing is dedicated to the Sidewinder because I want to say that you can't use your own let's say backmount wing and the harness which you have at home. So because the counterline connection, the hose, routing hose inside, so dedicated thing. And also the back plate is a little bit different. And we also have a adapter plate, I mean, on the back, which allows you to put
for the O2 cylinder.
But as a generally, yes, you just need the wing with the plate and put the tank like a regular single tank, and then two scrubbers on the side. Yeah? And the counterline is
Awesome.
exactly like with the side mount between the harness and your back and the loop on the top. So finally,
Cool.
so that's why we base on exactly same unit. So it's quite easy to convert it to the side mount or side mount to the single tap. Honestly,
Hmm.
just the counterline is different.
Right.
So finally, you can use exactly same unit with two different counterlines, and then you can jump between two setups, depends on the condition in which you are trying to dive. So I think
Okay.
that, yeah, that the only one will do it on the market which allows you for it.
Interesting.
So easy with,
Oh,
yeah, and so, how can I say it, so cheap, because it's just the counterline.
yeah, exactly. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, for those of us, we're obviously waiting with bated breath for all the announcements to come for the release now, and then there'll be a race to book courses and units and so on. For those of us who are doing a crossover, obviously we've already trained on the Sidewinder one, and we've been through the drills. What sort of changes would we expect? I mean, if someone was to come to train with you, I'm asking for a friend, of course. Um, what sort of experience? What would the experience be on doing a crossover?
Honestly, of course, we are talking about 1 or 2 days and focus on the differences. Yeah? So, as I mentioned, that the most well, the huge, the really huge change are scrubbers. I mean, the
Hmm.
canisters. So, how to fill it and properly, how to close it properly, and we have some breathing channel which should be closed, and so not easy thing. Yeah?
Hmm.
Then also we have an overpressure valve in a different location. We have a dump valve, different location, more flat, so not so easy to reach like before. ADV is adjustable. It's exactly like a second stage. So also during the class,
Hmm.
I think that we should find the proper opening effort of the ADV for each of the students. So
Hmm.
probably then more than one dive because some kind of the try dive about the setup and then about the ADV opening effort and maybe the position of the scrubbers, the things like this. Then probably we have to change it after the dive. And so I think that no, the most of the technique to do the things you say. About the
Hmm.
gear flushes to go right down because still a division on the right, so we can use the higher pressure to flush the
Hmm.
unit. But some of the things are a little bit different, and of course we're talking about the side mount.
Hmm.
With the backman thing, uh, of course, all the devices are supplied from one time. Mm. So, I can say it like it's not closed yet. It's more my, let's say, individual pictures of the things. But yeah, for the electrical dives, okay, you can base on this one tank, one regulator, because just in case, we're talking about 2 minutes, one
Hmm.
minute go up, and that's all. Yeah, even if the leaks everywhere, after 1 minute we'll be on the surface. Decolonize that conversion still depends for wind, bailout, diluent, no helium, so dry field also, let's say, it's from one
Yeah.
tank. So then two eggs, so some kind of two port valve, or which is not so easy. So probably the idea is just to provide to build some adapter which you get with the unit. You can use a single tank, but then adapter for two first stages with valves quite wide outside, which allows you uh, to close the valve when you have a leak, and then based on the second regulator. So, in my opinion, the backmount crossover to the backmount will be more complex than the side mount.
Yeah.
That's what you
Yeah.
can expect.
Yeah. I hear you because I guess we're so used to having redundant bailout with what we've got right now and the ability to supply. I mean, for me, for instance, I supply my ADV from one side and my MAV for diluent from the other side. one does my
Yeah.
dry suit, the other side does my wings. So I'm redundant, and for just about everything, buoyancy, and not reliant on any one diluent cylinder for anything. Both of them have first stages, as you say. So, second stages and first stages. So there's the ability to certainly donate from one side at least. I wonder whether you overcome that by carrying another bailout cylinder. Might be a way as well, right? Where interesting. Yeah, I hear where you're going there.
That's a quite complex things to still not really sorted out. We are planning some meetings, final meeting when we need to be ready just to establish the final standards of the thing. But the single tank can be a bit challenging during the process. Completely different things than the Sidemount.
Yeah, brilliant. And then, I assume you're doing a fair amount of cave diving yourself on the Sidewinder too. Tell us a little bit about the cave diving you're doing in Cave del Agua. During my course, didn't get very far, and it was quite a long time ago now, so I cannot remember how far I went. But talk a little bit about the cave diving in Cave del Agua that you're able to do.
So that's the many years project. I mean,
Yes.
I started in 1970 something. So and still a huge community with a really nice web page about all the exploration steps, about the cave itself, and but yeah. So at this point, it's about 8 kilometers of mine. Uh, so and still it's not the end. So still the group of explorers just slowly push the case further and farther.
Yeah.
So the point is that it's of course it's challenging, like all the exploration, especially the few kilometers in to the cave. But the water temperature and the average depth help a lot because we're talking about 29 Celsius water temperature and 10 meters average depth. So honestly,
Yes.
no detour, not so high consumption, and so on. So yeah. But anyway, so about the exploration, so it's still in progress. But if you want to come and dive here, a lot of possibilities. The cave is really maze. It's a huge labyrinth. So, 5, 6, 7, 8 spools or more, 10 to 15 cookies, and so that's the thing like this. Yeah. So, if you like a really complex navigation dive, that's a really good spot for it. Even for the open water, open circuit divers, even not for the multi-stage, because 10 meters average. So, and yeah, a lot of colors. Maybe that's not the typical snow caves like stalagmites, but really deep, different with other formations and different colors. A lot of marbles, the white or reddish brown structures, and amazing. Yeah. But same time, because it's still the erosion pattern, how do I say it? Probably properly. It looks like a rock, but it isn't. It's really soft thing, so it's really fragile. So to get lost the visibility, it's like single second. If you kick not properly fall, also the percolation. The
Yes.
huge corridors. The main ones, it's not so bad, but all the side corridors, you have to be ready for the maybe not the zero vis, but really restricted visibility, which is also nice for training, the mental one and the techniques and so on. So just to sum up, everybody can find can spend really nice time in Covadonga with 2 times, with 10 times, with the rebreather, without the rebreather, with the scooters, and so that's the case for the few trips, not for the one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember my time there fondly. The only thing I didn't really like was the entrance. The walk down the bank was a little bit
Not only
terrifying.
you, not only
Yeah,
you.
and I think in those days we weren't allowed to use the equipment there, but I understand that equipment is now open. Is that true?
Repeat this.
So the equipment, the pulley system to lower your cylinders down, is are you able to use that now?
Yeah, yeah. If you that that's the that's the way to put the things down, which use the explorers. I mean the local guys, and
Right,
honestly, it's also quite tiring. Mm.
right,
Yeah, you have to, pull the tanks up, then flip it on, then down.
right.
Okay, I think that if it's 20, 30 tanks, it worth to it. Yeah, if it's two tanks, I think that it's easier to hold down. I think.
Yeah.
But you can do
All
it.
right.
Yeah, it's for everybody. Yeah, so mm,
Yeah, yeah. Just take a good insurance policy, huh? It was,
yeah,
and be
yeah,
really
so
careful. I mean, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
about five,
Brilliant.
5 years ago, the guys had chains, which helps you. I mean, on the way up, you can just use the cane and yeah, so maybe easier. Yeah. And
I
it's
think
good
it
to
was
have
easier
the
up and
steps.
down,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but I found up super easy. Down was a little bit more, a little harder, I
Yeah.
thought. Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
now you have something which you can, let's say, base on, and it's maybe safer a little bit. It's still a little bit tiring,
yeah.
but safer, but safer.
Okay. Okay. Well, so Jacek, if somebody wanted to contact you to arrange some training, whether it be cave training or on the Sidewinder to whether it's mod one or whether they're doing crossovers or I'm assuming you do mod two and three as well. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 So
Both. Yeah.
yeah, how would they
Especially
contact you
more.
for that?
Okay. So it's quite easy because uh, the web page, of course, yeah, social media, and
Yes.
as I said, I'm Jacek Konikowski, so I don't have any company name, so yeah. So Jacek Konikowski, Instagram or Facebook, but also our web page is quite easy to remember because it's sidewinder.com. So yeah,
Did you steal
like a
that name?
me, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
I'm sure
exactly.
Mike Young or somebody would have tried to take it, ask you for it back.
Maybe, I was that lucky, or maybe not lucky. It doesn't, it wasn't happened itself, but yeah, I was the first in Europe, so yeah, so
Fair
that's
enough.
why, yeah, so it was so early on the Taiwan way that nobody really wanted to grab it. So
I
I
know,
did it.
isn't it funny? I remember hearing some people talk about it, and not even Patrick not really taking it seriously in the beginning because it looked
Yeah,
like it was
yeah,
kind of just, it was
yeah,
invented, of course, for a veteran who was disabled, and so yeah, the application in the beginning, while it was genius on Mike's part, what he came up with, you're certainly looking at the application as Ed Sorensen got hold of it and started to say, and I think even Ed said to me as well, he didn't take it seriously at first either until he dived
mm,
it. And then he started to realize what the power of it was. And of course, many, many years later, and I guess thousands and thousands of dives now, here we are. And we kind of, it's funny how we've kind of all gone through a similar path. Everyone's sort of run through Ed Sorensen as well. And now I think, it's so pleasing to see what's happened because I mean as we said, we really like the unit, but to see what's happened with Patrick and Piotr and at XDeep, taking this project on, not even realizing what they were getting into in the beginning. I hope they're happy now. I really do because I know it's been hard work for them, and I know it's been a lot harder than they thought it would be. So I hope at the end of it that this is an amazing success. I'm sure it will be. I know there's so much pent up interest for the Sidewinder too, and so I'm sure there's there's going to be many of us who will cross over to it. But also, I think it's going to be the impetus to bring other people over the line who maybe have been sitting on the fence or a bit concerned about some of the perceived issues, I'll say, of the Sidewinder one because I really love it and. While I'm going to enjoy the work of breathing, I'm sure I certainly don't mind diving the Sidewinder one. I really, really enjoy diving that unit, and so super excited for what's coming. And we'll have to stay in touch. We have to catch up sometime, Jacek, whether It's in. I might have to come to Spain. I've been threatening to go to Europe again. I did most of my training in Malta, so but it was really nice in Spain there. So love to come visit sometime.
So if you will plan the trip here, just let me know.
Yeah.
We can dive together. I can refresh you, Cueva del Agua, after the
Again, properly this time, right? Without a blindfold on, I hope.
and with the proper tool, with the Sidewinder. So now, the range is completely different than during the class. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, well, so, great to meet you. And look, we're gonna spread this one wide, and this episode will, just for everyone, this episode will come out in June, and I wonder how close it's going to be to the actual release of the Sidewinder 2. I'll find out. I'll see if I can reach out to Patrick, busy man as he is. I may get a response from him in terms of the timing, but middle of June, I think we should have this out, and if that happened to coincide with the release of the Sidewinder 2, that would be amazing. And so I'm expecting, as I said, big things. Thank you to you, and congratulations on everything you've achieved. You've clearly become one of the go-tos for the Sidewinder, and that's amazing. My camera's dropped. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I appreciate that you invited me here, and that I have an opportunity to talk about my favorite piece of equipment. I mean, the Sidewinder, and the favorite kind of the dives, like the cave dive. So I'm really happy here.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, mate. I'm going to finish the recording shortly. And again, thanks for your time. Thank you for sharing with all of us. And we'll catch you soon.
Yes, thank you very much. So, bye-bye.
You've been listening to Speaking Sidemount from www.sidemountpros.com. If you like the podcast and would like to support the show, then why not become a patron of Speaking Sidemount? For as little as $5 per month, you can become a part of the Speaking Sidemount team, get exclusive early access to all of the episodes, and help us to deliver the very best Sidemount, cave, and technical dive content available. Just go to www.patreon.com/speakingsidemount for all of the details. The address is also on our Facebook page, listed in the podcast notes. Thanks again, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode of Speaking Sidemount.